And it remains to be seen whether in this final game we are going to see a game like game number 1, or if the draft is again going to give us, and there it is,
Trist.
again,
Yeah.
the Trist, you mentioned it already, Wolf, and I think it is 100% warranted. Zeka, in both Trist games, felt like he was putting on an absolutely unreal performance.
And even though it hasn't been allowed all series long, I do think the Smolder ban is warranted unless they want to pick it up themselves here. Hanwha Life will maybe have to make that tough decision. I think a Ziggs ban here in this second slot is warranted against Pays as well on the red side, as it looks like we may have a bit of a issue here with this pick and ban, so bear with us. But yeah, I mean, this is, so much of this is about, and you guys mentioned it, and Chronicle, we were talking about in the break, these one-sided games, so much of it is about the composition, how well it works, and if it hits its win cons. And both of these teams are so good, and League of Legends has evolved to a point in the most competitive region in the world here in the LCK, where if you get that win con, you get ahead, there is just no giving up the map. You're not going to make that mistake. We kept saying, well, maybe they'll make a mistake, maybe they'll make a mistake, maybe they'll make a mistake, maybe GENG will come back. They don't. They didn't. These players are all so incredibly experienced. And so getting that lead, getting that snowball, hitting those benchmarks is what this series really feels like it has been about. They lost control in game 1, Hanwha did, but they clutched it. The rest of the games have been control, oppression, destruction.
Yeah, and a lot of it I think has come down as well to how the compositions mesh together after the early game has concluded, right? And a lot of drafts can be warped by a great laning phase, a really well-timed gank, like something going awry, a jungler getting pushed away and out of the map. And between Peanut and Canyon, we've had some of our best examples of that on both sides. But so much of this has really come down to how these drafts interact just in a mid-game, in a fairly even setting. And so I think so much of what needs to be looked at now for both teams is to have everything that you need in order to win mid-game skirmishes.
And to watch Chovy and Pays, their heads in their hands, you can feel the pressure. I mean, we're going into a Game 5 draft. You're yoinked out of that. We have to have a remake on the lobby. So you've got to reset mentally. There is so much on the line here. And to see Chovy have that expression on his face, especially when you consider how we were all feeling going into this series. With the exception of Ox, of course, but most people around the world were saying GENG is an elite team. This is the one team that maybe could get the golden road. This team is so dominant right now. So many titles in a row, and they're pushed to the brink.
They absolutely are. They have to win this if they're going to keep that golden road alive. The 5P and the possibility of even more alive as well. Hanwha Life Esports trying to make history for this organization. The very first time they've been able to hoist a trophy. Another team being able to actually win here in the LCK. So much. It's been Damwon, DK, T1, GENG. That's basically
That's it. For
like
last, what,
the
5 years?
I can't even really think back long enough to get to a different one apart
like
from KT in 2018,
yeah,
you know?
I was about to say.
That was the last time.
Oh, right, then that's why. That's why, Chronicle.
There you go.
Because that is actually it.
Doran, Peanut, Delight would reclaim their throne. And a lot of what we talk about is the man that was there for every single win, which is Chovy. Every single GENG win has been with him right there, and a lot of the pieces around him have changed. And I think for Doran, Peanut, and Delight winning with a different mid laner, one that himself is trying to actually deliver on the peaks that he was able to find in 2022, as the Smolder is going to get banned, which means that the Ziggs, I imagine, is most likely, but I think maybe GENG is going to pivot.
I think maybe they think that Viper doesn't want to play Ziggs here, and they can actually get both. They take this Corki away because the Tristana is gone. The Smolder ban, I feel, is really smart because you don't have the Tristana to play that turret game and get the massive leads we've seen Hanwha Life play. You don't have that agency to shut down the Smolder before he comes online, so they ban that one away. Risky choice here for GENG. Let's see if Hanwha Life are willing to pick up the Ziggs themselves, and they will say it. Yes, the answer is yes.
You have to, right?
Oh, God, Peanut! In Game 5, really? You troll us like this?
He's having some fun.
He's obviously going to pick 5, but like that is so Peanut. That is the most Peanut thing.
If Isaacs as a 1-2, insanely strong. You can get any target As long as you get
Oh,
to press R. This is actually
taste of Viper's own medicine.
exactly what Viper himself brought out. I was looking at this and going, surely they're going to go Jhin, right? I imagine the Jhin comes through, you play to neutralize. This is a completely different look. Instead, you have to get through the laning phase, but once you get there, if you ever land the W on top of the Ziggs, you can blow them up in seconds as Humalife just further committing to dive. And I gotta say, into a Skarner, that is always gonna feel a little bit scary.
Yeah, that's what we saw, obviously, through a lot of the turnaround in Game 1. The Skarner was able to shut them down with Impales if he doesn't die.
Oh, good ban, the Poppy.
Yeah, the Poppy, insanely smart here. And they're basically fishing for a Leona ban in trade. They have picked priority here as well. The Leona Ziggs has been the premier bottom duo if you can get both. You very rarely do. And it's so strong with their comp already that has so many dives and single target blowups.
Cassante ban, I imagine if Humalife stay consistent, because that's 100% what Keen is going to blind if you do leave it up.
I do think, though, that if they are putting that many tanks onto the Rift, right, like Lehens is obviously going to play some sort of engage, the Blitzcrank is going to be the ban away this time, and the demise of the losing teams in this series has been lack of damage and lack of output of damage, right? The lack of options for threats on the map. And if it is going to be that tank from Keen, then you lose that extra string of your bow. I don't mind this from Humalife Esports.
Feels like this has to be a Leona ban, right? They take away the Rakan instead.
And Brom's still available.
Yeah.
Is one of those champions that playing it into dive feels like it has an incredible amount of power. Leona is most likely here. They could, of course, also just pick Jax for Doran.
Wouldn't mind it.
Wouldn't mind it given the performances that thus far. Also, let's be honest, yeah, that counter pick in the Udyr looked very lackluster outside of the laning advantage. The dive failed, and from that point on, it just didn't feel like it did anything.
And it's going to be the Camille again?
It could be Bard as well here.
Well,
For the light to come through.
He's looking at the Cassante again with the front line. They want the Skarner plus the Cassante for the double AD carry, but it's not a traditional AD carry again here in this Kai'Sa. It's more dive focused. It's a very good counter pick to the Ziggs. Going for the Camille would give you a little bit more options. It does index further into your Kai'Sa composition, adds a little bit of extra damage, but he will ultimately lock the Cassante here.
What's it gonna be?
Nautilus going to be locked away here by Lehens. Of course, historically, one of his best champions. Has found so much success on this pick, but Nautilus himself hasn't found a lot of success recently, and that is the Rel. A very different story. Delight has been extremely good on this champion. It's why we've seen it banned so many times throughout this series already.
Kai'Sa Nautilus is a combo that goes way back. The guaranteed plasma proc is huge. This is going to be an absolute fist fight, right? Particularly on Humalife. Everyone wants to go in. Obviously, Viper can poke away a little bit, but you expect him to play extremely aggressively. And then on the flip side, into a Cassante, into a Skarner. Can GENG keep the Garys safe, or will we have a repeat of that game number 1 where they were unable to, and Zeka and Viper brought them to a win?
A lot of this series has been getting map control with some strong pushes, getting picks, and then taking that oppressive map control and pushing it through. Those one-sided games we talked about. This game feels like, even though there's a Ziggs on the Rift, there's no Tristana, it's going to feel very different. It's going to be for Humalife about team fights, combos. They have a ton of damage, they have dive, and they have burst. Single target also very strong with the Ziggs ultimate. But if they fall behind, it becomes very difficult to actually utilize that composition. They need to know when to pick their fights, when the Ziggs is strongest, who they are going to choose, who are they going to blow up. Because we saw them choke it out earlier on in this series, not knowing which battles to fight when their composition started to fall apart. This is the ultimate test here for Humalife against LCK's most dominant team here. They already won one game on red side. We'll see if they'll do it twice.
Our most dominant team ever.
Yeah.
Breaking record after record after record. And here we are.
This
all
is the
down to
most
a single game.
It's the most dominant season a team has ever had, and the most dominant run of championships a team has ever had here in the LCK, and it's only continuing further. But do you know where it started? It started with Peanut, and it started with Doran, and wouldn't it be poignant if that's exactly where it ends?
Guess what? In their way is one angry orange, guys. And I don't know if you can see, that orange has been working out, okay?
Yeah, and if it was working out throughout this whole series, it's been a really long series. So I imagine they're getting a little bit tired, but they've got a huge pump right now. There is a little bit of a pause once again. We are sticking with peripherals being a little bit of the problem here. Definitely the better of the pauses.
Yeah, no, I mean, those are the things that you could physically fix, and it happened before the game, again in this case, so we don't actually have any game affecting stuff. It's not going to change the state of the game. Yeah, man, I look at these two drafts, and it almost feels to me like out of all the 5 games we've had, all 5 drafts, this one feels the hardest to call, the hardest to give an edge to. It's very different, right? And I feel like it's one of the smartest drafts on both teams as we've kind of figured each other out, right? Both Hanwha and GENG have taken away some of those strong picks, knowing how they both operated. This one feels the most unique.
I would agree. I do also feel like this is a Hanwha Life Esports that have kind of figured out what they want to do this series. I feel like finally they've got the thing that could be successful. GENG, still just a juggernaut. Less damage on the Rift than Hanwha Life are presenting right now, but you never know what could happen here as GENG Esports look to try and make that 5-beat happen, and Hanwha Life Esports look to stop it here in Game 5.
젠지, 하나, 둘, 셋.
And fans obviously have had a long day themselves, but I feel like the volume is only getting louder here in this stadium. When one of these teams finally wins this series, we may need to check on the roof. But GENG setting up blue side now once again for the squad that has been doing all of the winning. This will be Paze's first championship that he's ever lost in the LCK. Let's let that sink in.
He's a little spoiled, okay? Like, normally you don't get to win every single
I think I'd be okay with someone saying that like after spring, but after this season, like I think maybe he's just a little good.
I mean, you're talking to me.
Yeah.
I'm definitely that opinion. What I want to highlight as well is the faith that's being put for Paze to actually be put on this Kai'Sa, because this is a pick that to me really does feel like it's all or nothing, right? Like either the Kai'Sa pops off and she's a big threat in fights and she has backline threat, or you're just against a champion with so much utility, which makes it really hard to play the game.
We have this lane swap coming through here, and GENG aren't able to actually get any picks with it, aren't able to surprise Hanwha Life with it. It's a really good ward there from Hanwha. They spot this, they know about this. And the question becomes, will this end up being worth it, as you're not going to get chunked out by the Ziggs in the lane, but...
that was a nice hook.
It's not going to end up leading to anything too much here, except a little bit of extra health advantage. But the Ziggs in the bottom lane left alone, there's no plate protection there, and this might be Viper getting a lot of extra advantages early on if no one can stop this push.
Yep, Lahen's moving down towards the bottom side preemptively, as that first crash does come on in. Yeah, I think Paze just looking to clear out this wave first before they go for a little bit of a change-up.
Trying to annoy his old teammate, last time was able to steal it away.
Certainly a few old teammates of his down here on the bottom side.
Yeah, we'll see. They might be teleporting Keen down again. Lahens is already at the turret. That was a crucial mistake in the first game. They might still look for a dive.
Yeah, 4 versus 2. I've seen this one before. That is going to be Lahens taking so much damage, but he finds the hook. It is once again going to be the 1-for-1. But can they find more? That's the question. Doran does not have turret aggro, so he's just able to walk it off. Keen, like you say, does have that level 3, but it's another 1-for-1. And Canyon is now looking for a different one. That was so cute by Zeka. Unbinds the soul, gets underneath the lawnmower, and gets himself out of there.
Okay, well, a lot of early aggression here, but Viper does have teleport and can just return directly to this lane. Paze will not be able to do the same, but it looks like he's just going to head bottom side. They'll send Keen top, and they have the wave control on the top side, so this is not really a tough situation here for GENG. They end up getting a pretty big gold lead during this interim as well. Zeka pushed out of this mid lane is a little bit frustrating, but it's tough to use that prio right now. And actually, as I say it, Paze does head back towards the top lane. It's just going to be a Ziggs laning into Cassante.
Yeah, the issue is that they didn't have prio towards bot side, so if you rotate Keen over, you're going to miss out on way too much. And obviously, you don't pick Kai'Sa for the laning matchup, so as long as they're able to just get everyone their waves and make sure they don't die, I don't really think you care too much about the matchups here for either of them. GENG has indexed again into a type of game where it's not really all about the early game, but this was such a big win. Bone blading takes up a lot of the damage, the exhaust comes through as well, and then he immediately identifies who is tanking, gets the hook, which ensures that the trade ends up going GENG's way.
Yeah, and the immediate target for the turret after that was Viper, who goes down to about 10 health, has to then evacuate the lane. And that tempo that we were seeing start to build in the bottom side for Humble Life Esports is also expelled.
Yeah, and
nicely played there by GENG.
I'm not 100% sure, but I don't actually think he picked up that plate gold either. Either way, still now on the back foot here, and what could have been a disaster for GENG if it's not played that well by Lehens with Viper, ended up getting a lot more plate gold, a lot more power on the Ziggs, and now Doran finds himself significantly far behind in farm, whereas the Cassante is just chilling in the bottom lane. Keen, a level up on Doran as well, and everything is looking great for GENG here so far in this early game.
Want to highlight that Chovy also still has his TP available, so any trade he can make with Zeka, as long as he doesn't end up going down, is going to feel great. Obviously, trading into Yone with his shield and his E and his Qs is not the easiest thing, but looks like Chovy is now going to get that back in. We'll see. I imagine Doran is a man of restraint and does not walk up to the brush. But it's Doran, so I just don't know, guys. I think he's baiting.
I like how you
Right?
say that as he continuously walks up to the brush.
Okay, well, like still, yeah, they read
Peanut's
this.
coming, he
Peanut's
pinged
on his way.
Yeah, he pinged it.
Yeah.
Viper's coming up, it doesn't have level 6.
Peanut going to
Okay.
get in here. See whether they know that Lehens is also in position.
Oh,
Hex Splash
yeah,
going to
they-
get channeled, and he just flashes away.
If Doran is walking up like that when pace is down, Lehens is missing, they're not going to go for it.
Well, they're still
Unless-
going to land a hook, as Doran taking a lot of damage here. That Plasma proc, pretty dangerous.
I feel like-
he's just going to sack off his health bar and move away.
GENG absolutely knew, and they were playing Doran's game, and Doran was like, I really have to sell this. Like, well, if you're that far away, we know he's there, but we'll at least take half of your health bar.
We're going to hit you if you're standing in range, dude. I think it's probably what they were thinking.
Yeah. And Doran is now going to go try to catch bottom wave, but he doesn't have TP, so a lot of farm lost here. GENG is playing the map way better so far in this game, and Doran's once again finding himself further and further behind.
And look at that. That's another wave that's going to go into the turret. And lane swaps have always been GENG's forte ever since they came back in vogue.
Yeah.
We do see Lehens able to make his presence known early, and that's going to be the grubs going over to GENG. And this isn't the type of game where one team needs to get a lead or one team needs to do X, Y, Z before. As the hook.
Oh, another Hex Splash hook does come on in there as Pays gets satcheled away. And that is Viper playing a really nice defensive game on his 6.
It is wild that both supports are still level 3, 7 minutes into this game.
Yeah.
With all the roaming, all the cleaning up lanes, all the diving, and the lack of experience that they were able to soak. That's the reason why they are 3 levels behind their bot lane counterparts. Yeah, Doran still ends up maintaining CS parity here, despite everything. Hasn't had a ton of control, and I do agree with you, Chronicler, in that neither of these teams needs to have that big edge. But I feel like Hanwha Life, if they do get it, can be very oppressive with this Ziggs.
for sure.
Yeah.
But it's been GENG who piloted this lane swap so well to prevent that thus far. Canyon down a level.
There's a lot of people on the way. Might just try and look for a drive-by. It's a big risk, though, with where the dragon is.
Yeah, I do think that if he does want to go for this one, just don't.
Maybe a catch?
That would be my...
No.
Oh, he's like a
suggestion.
ward away from level 6 as well.
Oh,
Doesn't have
Ocean
it.
Soul, what do you reckon? Cloud into Chemtech into Ocean.
I'm not
I'd
going to
rather
predict
not.
it. I'm not going to predict it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let it
I
happen.
do actually, this is one of the games where you know what? I think the sustain actually is good. There'll probably be a lot of side laning, because Hanwha Life do have 2 really big side lane threats.
Okay.
Can play towards, the Ziggs can also really easily play towards side lanes, right, with his ultimate and both solo lanes having set up. Peanut has a lot of lockdown. There's a reasonable amount of poke between Chovy, Viper, and depending on the build, Pays as well. So I don't think it's
Maybe
not
we'll
great.
read it.
I'd rather have Hex. I love the Hextech Rift, man. It's just so
I want to get Cinders on the map,
Well,
man. I want
not
Drift Drift.
Swift.
Yeah, Drift Drift
Oh,
is
Drift
what we
Drift,
need.
yeah.
Mountain with Cassante Skarner for GENG sounds like it could be a bit of a problem.
That would be, yeah.
Yeah.
And also playing dive into mountain is not very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if the shielding does come through and they get the soul, especially with missing this first Drake and the extra resistances they would have, it would be a nightmare for Hanwha Life. Ziggs also hates shields, so not going to feel great, but we'll have to wait and see. Hanwha Life at least have bought them themselves that first Drake. And it's a low-action game here. GENG obviously ended up with that early play, taking a pretty significant advantage here in terms of gold. But it's not enough for us to really weigh in on this game one way or the other. It's going to be about those team fights. It's going to be about those combos that Hanwha needs to set up.
That said, though, with this composition, I feel like GENG, they're feeling really comfortable. Keen, this time, again, has an impact to Cassante when he's like 20, 30 CS behind in a regular spot. This time he's ahead. Yeah, the Cole eventually is going to get Doran a lot of gold, as Chovy has also picked that one up. But right now it's Cassante with a 500 gold lead, and this is the type of game where if Hanwha Life throw everything into GENG, and Keen this time going for Iceborne Gauntlet first as well, because if you go back to the previous game, he went Koenig Rookern, right? And really was just focused on surviving. Could actually be a problem in the long run. If you blow everything onto Paze or Chovy and you overinvest, might be enough damage for GENG to still strike back.
I do want to say, though, that this is probably one of the best 1-3-1 comps you can build for yourself. Jax and Yone in side lanes are completely ridiculous. Take turrets extraordinarily quickly, survive 1v1s very, very well, especially later on in the game. And Viper is the best wave clear that you can possibly have in today's League of Legends.
You also have Peanut on Vi, so it's hard for the Corki to get away.
Wait, you
can't believe you do that to Smolder, Atlas.
Oh, right, but Smolder's not real.
Well, also, I'm glad he's not. I think we're all on that opinion. Sorry, Wolf, continue.
He's not real in this series.
Yeah,
banned every
not anymore, not anymore.
But yeah, I do think that with the Vi, you can push those side lanes super hard because it sets up both the Yone and the Jax for success, even into the Corki. So if you end up getting map control, it can be very difficult to deal with. And even if you're behind, at least you have that win con to buy further time to catch up or give yourself a better team fight. They already got that first dragon as well. Canyon's coming in.
Yeah, looking for the angle there. They don't quite find the dredge line as Doran does get impaled, but he's surviving for so long. The exhaust goes down, but it just does not do enough. The Grandmaster's Mind comes in. The Ziggs takes the first kill. The Jax finally goes down, but now it's Hanwha Life Esports' turn to get aggressive. Great stun to come through from the Shattering Strike. Does he have enough buns? It's Cassante. So of course he does, but not enough to get out of the cease and desist. And Zeka is going to put him down. Hanwha Life 4-2.
And Hanwha read the play. It's the double teleport that makes the difference. If it's only Zeka or only Viper, you could probably execute on that play. But instead, they are going to be able to get the counter kills, and they're going to be able to get the grubs and the 9 more grubs to GENG.
Yeah, this is huge. Grubs being picked up for a Ziggs who already has that turret destructive power. Oh, feel very valuable. Canyon says no.
Canyon getting on in there as Peanut not going to be able to lock that one down. It was an early smite as now Zeka's in trouble on the top side of the map. Does get that shield back, and oh, that satchel's so good! Bouncing Bomb is not going to quite find the kill back, but he saves his mid laner. Viper, bit of a hero for Hanwha Life Esports in this game.
GENG have been so good this series at saying, yeah, you won the fight around Grubs, but now because you won the fight, you don't have control anymore, and Canyon goes straight back to the Grubs. You only get one smite on the Grubs because obviously once that one goes down, you have to burn the next one. You can't smite them simultaneously, so it's easy for Canyon to take that one away. Then he has control after that. But leading into this dive, it's a little bit messy here for the side of GENG as Canyon is just CC chained under the turret, and Doran lives for so long. The bomb comes through, and yes, they end up killing him, but this comp is so oppressive on Chase. Peanut has flash ult. There's almost a world where he actually ends up killing the Kaisa. They'd probably trade flashes. He decides just to play it safe here, not expend his summoner, and go for Keen instead.
And it's the timely arrival of Delight, plus the immediate call, right? Because you saw Keen was already at the start of that pulling back, looking for the TP, which meant that Viper wasn't threatened whatsoever. Now, GENG investing heavily here, no TP, so Doran is going to feast upon this top wave.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
Bolt breakering his way out.
It's gonna have to be a good Drake.
Yeah, Mega Inferno Bomb doesn't do enough to try and steal away a dragon.
Atlas.
Or anything like... Yeah, no, I told you. What do you mean? You didn't read the script?
All right, Doran is getting
Did Dan hog the script the whole time? Because Ox he let me have a peek at it. But I only really care about the dragons.
I mean, this is a Jackson in the side lane. Yeah, you got the solo Chemtech, and everyone's kind of raising their eyebrows at Atlas who predicted the Ocean Drake because this feels like a massive trade up in terms of one objective here that's relatively useless on its own versus a ton of gold into this Jax's pocket in that side lane win con for the 1-3-1 we just talked about. With a soul that is less than enticing, you're feeling pretty good if you're a Hanwha Life fan after that exchange.
Well, Chovy taking a bit of a rough trade here into Zeka. As I say that, it's kind of even. But still, Corki a little worse for wear if he's melee range.
This is one of the big things, is that so many of these plays where normally as GENG you can feel confident that you win it, if Viper has an ultimate available, like the amount of extra damage that's going to be there is somewhat insane. As Chovy actually gives up a wave, which that's a
Whoa.
really beautiful commentary on how much he's grown as a player, as he lets Pace
100%.
take it. And it's because he needs the back. And I thought that they were going to play for Herald, but it looks like instead they are going to look for the cross map as there's that Ziggs value.
Yeah, I mean, what is the cross map here, though, ideally for GENG? I mean, it's not a whole lot. I mean, nobody's here. Corki's coming down with no TP. They're not going to be able to push the turret, so Hanwha Life both group up fast to Satchel turret and now have Herald control, and GENG get nothing. Yeah.
They could.
I mean, they absolutely could, and they might. The mid turret is still very valuable here into this Kaisa, so we'll see what they want to utilize this for, but either way, I mean, Chovy will eventually push this one down with the help of Canyon and the 4 grubs they have.
Going to be mid.
Yep, and Rift Herald is going to come down. The trade for Outer on the bottom side for Outer here in the mid lane.
So it's a 2-for-1 here in favor of Hanwha Life.
Yeah, they're able to grab that, and now GENG should be able to oh, never mind. Peanut is going for another drive. Now, we know that Peanut is an eclectic driver, and he is now just going to crash it into his mid lane turret. So HLE is going to wander back once again.
I remember his motorcycle driving in the
I know, right?
opening.
In the intro. So we know that he is a great driver in his own right, but maybe not of Shellfish. You know, I think like a bike versus an animal with a shell is different.
It's a different vibe.
Is it really the shell that's like, it's not just the animal that's
Well,
the
I mean,
hard
that's
part?
the bit that you're like, you have to wrestle with.
It throws you off balance.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe Rift Herald is...
Okay, look,
You have
imagine
a Rift
you're-
Herald saddle?
Imagine you're driving a bicycle or motorcycle, but then you put a very heavy backpack on while driving it. You know? All right?
I don't know, maybe it's like grabbing the horns and steering. We don't
I
know
mean, you
these
do kind of
mechanics.
just like, maybe there's a compartment under the wings or something, which is where you go, because it does look like, you know, you're not really visible.
Land.
All right, yeah, Lahan's out of position. Vault Breaker's going to connect. Life Esports looked a little apprehensive, but Lahens is just dead, and they know it. Zeka going to be able to lock down that kill, make it 5 versus 2 as now Chovy spotted here by Delight. They're going to teleport in, they're looking for it. Cease and desist going to be there. Good smite from Canyon, but the blue buff, it definitely belongs to Hanwha.
Okay, that first TP was great from Viper, because that's why GENG didn't want to commit, because if you commit and Viper gets a bunch of kills, it's a disaster. The second TP from Zeka, I think that's some Game 5 jitters right there. That one didn't really do a whole lot.
I mean, it was still a great play and a great read from Hanwha because they know if Chovy's that far up, he can't be alone, right? Somebody else is up there because they're going to shadow him because he wants to get that turret. He needs gold desperately. Viper has sucked up so much of the gold off of the map, and then Chovy's up there, so you know likely Lahens is waiting in lurk, or lurking in wait, I should say, and Hanwha Life are able to go in there and
waiting
punish.
and lurk so much more. That was great.
Sure, whichever way you want to slice it.
I'm going to go with waiting and lurk.
Okay, while he's waiting in lurk, Hanwha Life go over and get the punish there and deny the turret take. There's one step ahead of GENG on the map once again.
Well, Delight now, his job is to clear out some vision as we wait 40 seconds for the first Ocean Drake. Look at that stop command that he put in there. That was cheeky. Just knew that the hook wasn't going to connect. And that's a Nautilus hitbox.
What we're seeing here as well is the fact that Chovy is about to hit his 2-item spike. I think once both Pace and Chovy have hit that, that's when we're going to start to see GENG be a bit more proactive as it plays. That topside play obviously ended up backfiring, and I was wondering if we're going to see a repeat. We really shouldn't. As Keen, is he in trouble? There is no TP available to help him, but he does clear the wave.
No knock up here from Zeka, who is not very tanky.
And Chovy
Let me
finally
go on
does get his prize of that top turret and is looking for more, knowing that Hanwha Life are completely grouped up bottom side. It's a good read here from GENG, but they're not going to commit any further. The wave is thinned out. Dragon is being taken by Peanut in the meanwhile, so they are going to get this small prize as well.
Oh, Pays looking for a little bit of an angle here. Let's see
Level
whether
2
he does
on the
get on
ultimate.
over there. Yeah,
so
exactly.
you can actually now assist way more easy than you could before. We talked about the Ziggs already. Kaisa's kind of the same in that you can impact side lane so much, and Keen obviously has great setup. Lanza's setup. The only one that doesn't benefit from it is Chovy.
Yep. Viper will throw a bomb, and Pays will throw himself. Is basically how we can think about
A
it.
lot of damage on either side.
Oh, absolutely.
Another big wave here. Lahens is coming over.
Another time, Zeka going aggressive, but not going to be killing Keen right here.
If Pays rotates over, look at how much vision control they have. If Pays tries to rotate over, Peanut could just flash ult on him and kill him. So he has to just kind of say, Keen, I hope they don't come for you. Lahens is still here, so they're not going to commit any further. It is a Cassante, after all, with ult and flash. But Hanwha Life just are tugging the map. It's so hard. They're pulling and pushing GENG back and forth. And they're constantly putting the pressure on.
It's kind of crazy because the way they manipulate waves is just so fast. And so trying to find windows for collection of tempo here for GENG is just so incredibly hard. And Zeka will be able to get a few cheeky autos on this outer turret as King going aggressive, but Zeka very comfortable. And here's the group up. Mega Inferno Bomb says no. There's a lot of saying no.
Yeah, there really is, and you can sense as well, because both teams are so easily able to collapse on side lane, you really don't want to overstep because there's so much CC. But that means, again, as Canyon unfortunately does not get his objective. Nice little steal there. That GENG just isn't able to make it work just now. And I think that one of the big issues they have, outside of Lahens, anyone on Hanwha can set up a play, right? Between Counter-Strike, Zeka Ultimate, and then Delight and Peanut. That isn't really the case for GENG. They are somewhat reliant on Hanwha Life engaging onto them. But if Hanwha Life are just taking objectives, poking and prodding, there's not really that much opportunity. And
yeah.
I wonder how the fighting fives are going to look, because you know they're going to be explosive.
They're going to be explosive, and Chovy has been farming so hard by himself. We saw the experience lead that he had across all 10 players. He was #1 because he spent so much time in sides. He's been in that top lane alone. He hasn't really interacted with people that much. He doesn't have any utility he can add to team fights. Doesn't have any CC on this pick. So he's hard farming for that second item because he was behind Zeka. Now he's got it. And I think in 2.5 minutes here, when we do get towards that dragon, it might be the opportunity GENG is looking for to fight. But if they end up, again, being pushed around the map, not being able to take the fight on their terms, the rel engage is so incredibly strong, the single target blow-up is incredibly strong. Both the Cassante and the Skarner aren't quite tanky yet, so you have to be so cautious because losing a critical team fight now might lose you that trophy, might lose you the Pentapede. Keen stepping forward.
Yeah, Keen is going to be one of the safest when it comes to face-checking things. Him and Canyon, the ones that are going to be tasked with this. It does look like wherever Hanwha Life Esports walk, they seem to be able to just exude control in this game right now. Control wards being cleared out. And when Delight is very comfortably able to walk into the enemy jungle with lots of bad guys in the area, that's when you know Hanwha Life Esports are in a really good spot. It isn't really represented in the gold, as it is under a 2,000 gold lead still. It is red side skewed. As Zeka just trying to find some angles, Canyon looking for it. You can see GENG starting to come alive.
Is that really what we're doing? I'm like, guys, are we...
Blue buff is really important.
Well, right now, Hanwha Life have so much control over Baron. GENG need to fight and try to leapfrog vision forward. And for Hanwha Life, while they're doing so, you could try to take their blue away, while you could try to harass. But Hanwha Life are not going to fully index into actually fighting over said blue buff. They're going to be happy to take the vision lead here. While GENG clears this up, they have vision of what GENG is doing. They can then push their attention bottom side here, look for Soul Point with this Ocean Soul. Again, not the most amazing soul, not the most exciting soul in this game, but still relevant stats here for Hanwha Life Esports. No topside objective outside of Baron, which they have covered in wards here for GENG to take. And GENG, once again, kind of end up empty-handed here on the map.
And what I want to see, and we need to do this because Orcs is, waiting in the space. And if we don't talk about the fact that Leandries would be really good here, then we're not really doing him a service. In this game, I think Viper building Leandries, I think it would be really good here.
Yeah, there's a lot of health stacking on the enemy team. It's also allowed Keen, I think, to just go in really heavily into your armor, knowing that he doesn't really have to fear Viper as much with just the tankiness that you get from being Cassante in general. And I want to talk a little bit as well. I feel like in this game the most, both teams feel like they are so close to pulling the trigger, but we're also getting to the point in the game where, like, legitimate, if either team now makes a too big a mistake and ends up giving Nash, that's probably, in case of Hanwha, your chance at the biggest upset that we've seen in a year and a half, an opportunity for Peanut to reclaim his throne, Zeka's first title, right? Viper's first title, and on the flip side for GENG. I know that we talk a lot about the Golden Road, but this team has been very vocal about how much it means to them just to get these LCK records, these domestic
titles,
domestic dominant and the titles that they've been able to get.
Achievements are huge. I mean,
they don't know. Canyon's in the pit.
Yeah, Delight finding a little angle here. This could be a huge Impale Canyon. He gets on in there, the Impale only onto one. Zeka is not going to be focused here as the Seamstress into the backline. Mega Inferno Bomb, it's Chovy that's the target, and Chovy they will find. Pace gets into the back line though. It's a Hextech minefield and he's just destroyed. Delight is trying to keep Keen busy, but that is not a good use of Keen's time as Humble Life Esports win the fight.
And once again, this is the team fight, one of the first real team fights we've seen, and it's a trap set by GENG. But this dive comp just really isn't hitting the mark here as Chovy finds himself the target of the re-engage. It's Fi, it's Rel, it's basically wombo combos being set up here. You have a Jax as well, and if GENG don't get that initial blow up, they are not going to win the fight.
I mean, you see there again, I think ideally, maybe Peanut's the one that you take out of the fight, right? The problem here is Canyon maybe looking.
Yeah, maybe wanting to find a little bit of an angle here, but Doran just going to jump in and trying to find an angle. 52, as that is going to be the Ziggs that takes down the Dragon. Peanut was just not there, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
That was the issue.
I was about to say. But what's really big here for me is that I think that they were trying to take Peanut out of the fight, because the problem with the Vials is there's just no way to counteract it. Like, Vial, Ziggs ults, you're just dead.
Yeah, I mean, you have a Yone, a Jax,
and everybody else is knocked about, so they can't press their buttons while she's doing it.
And even with a great Q3 from Keen, you're fighting in a choke point against the Ziggs as well, so the counter-strike damage, the mines from Viper just end up doing an incredible amount.
And I think we could talk about the fact that GENG has been put in these positions where they fall behind in macro, fall behind in game control, in objective control, in vision. It's happened, like we can count how many times it's happened this year, like on one hand. You know, in the LCK, you just don't see it. And trying to make a proactive play like this with the Skarner, with the tricky hide, the wraparound, you can go through the wall in the Baron pit. The concept is good, but into this draft from Hanwha Life, and especially at this current game state, it felt like a recipe for disaster, and they were swiftly punished by Hanwha Life.
And in the back of my mind, I can just hear Monte Cristo's voice talking about MVP candidates and Viper versus FaZe. And in this game, Viper is really putting in a good argument. I think this series, Viper has put in a great argument. And I could see FaZe finding an angle to win this game by himself if he's able to find the right angles, if GENG are able to give him an opportunity to cut them down, because I think that there is a lot of carry potential for this Kai'Sa if she can find the window.
It goes back to the priority here for GENG and giving the Ziggs over, you know, may have been a mistake, and perhaps they didn't trust that Hanwha was going to pick this, and I mentioned it was risky in the draft. But Ziggs is so powerful right now, but maybe it was a vote of lack of confidence in Viper's Ziggs. But just because FaZe might be the better Ziggs doesn't mean that the pick isn't incredibly oppressive.
And I mean, I think Viper has played the Ziggs exceptionally well. That minefield being held for exactly when FaZe goes in, surrounds him with these bombs so that he can't actually be the tricksy Kai'Sa running around in stealth and things like that in these fights. I mean, it's been beautifully played. His satchels defensively saving Doran time and time again as well.
And what they got instead was Chovy on the Corki, right? Who thus far, and I don't think that's even necessarily up to him, like hasn't been able to have the impact, because again, stepping up is so hard. And we haven't even really talked about Doran yet. The fact that this Jax is again playing into double auto attacker, doesn't really have a natural enemy on the Rift right now. And I'm looking at GENG, they still are. When it comes to items, 3K behind at this point doesn't mean that much. But one of the things that I think can get them back in this game is if FaZe can get the W evolve, can get a lot of AP, and we're not talking just Nashers, right? You're going to have to finish your death cap as well. But if you get an Ocean Soul as Hanwha Life, which right now is looking likely with how the game is going, that kind of takes away one of the victories. Look at that, Viper has his death cap. If you thought Chovy died fast in the previous game, or in the previous fight, it's going to be a whole lot worse.
I mean, this item's very, very good for avoiding that for the one
very
ultimate
true.
in the next fight. So if GENG want to throw that Hail Mary, does have the tools to try and keep himself alive in it.
I think GENG have one real fight left in them. I do think there's a real opportunity here for them to turn on a arm guard, or to have a really nice Impale angle when the dive comes through. If Canyon could be patient, he's still got his flash as well. He's getting very tanky into this composition. So there's a world, I think, for GENG. I mean, like you said, the gold lead isn't that significant, but if they lose that fight, they lose Baron into this Fed Ziggs, who now has death cap, that's when the game becomes practically borderline unplayable here for GENG, as the oppression from Hanwha Life has waned a little bit here. GENG starting to get some prio on this Baron. Keen has teleport bottom side, can join at a moment's notice. This is the most control they've had in a while, minus the time Cannon was able to sneak into the pit. But it's so tough to start this up into this composition.
And they're looking for mid-prio because they want to be able to contest the Dragon, but it's not really being given to them. And if they contest too much towards the bot side of the map, Life can just pull the trigger on the Baron. 29 minutes in, there is so much damage. Look at that Elixir of Iron as well available for Doran. I think both the teams kind of have the feeling there's one more fight one way or another to decide this series.
And if, you know, GENG aren't proactive, Life Esports go over, they get an Ocean Soul, and against this Corki poke, this Kai'Sa poke, I mean, it's just not going to exist anymore. It's going to need to be hard engage, and we know that Hanwha have done really well into that. This Ziggs defensively has been beautiful from Viper. He's been tested time and time again, and he's passed.
I mean, we're looking at a fight where everything is bought. Chobi's got that arm guard, 10 flashes, 10 ultimates to decide this best of 5, to decide the LCK Summer Champion. It all comes down to one more big fight.
Poke is landing, but again, if GENG move too many people down, Life, they have basically full control of the vision.
Banana Brush does come on in there as Doran looking for an angle. Blast Cone over from Canyon. He's going to disengage. Minefield is down now, but cooldown's not exactly the longest at level 16.
The poke from GENG isn't really landing. Chovy and Paze doesn't feel like they're really doing enough. Might just come down to a flip, and Peanut has been really good at this as Vi as well.
Yeah, these bouncing bombs actually really hurt Keen as well. As you can see, at Deathcap doing some work, Doran standing on this blast cone. Could probably find an angle into the back of that pit. And speaking of the back of the pit, Canyon is going to go on over. They know that the jungler is out. There is the brush here, the Ocean Soul sort of helping out here as far as keeping GENG hidden and away from these bombs. The Dragon's going to be disengaged from, man. You can feel the intensity between these squads. Whoever pulls the trigger, they might throw for their team, right? That's what you have to remember. This is game 5.
Peanut's hiding.
Oh, man, it's so dark in that Dragon pit. GENG know that they can't give up this soul. It's going to be so devastating. Zeka, he tanks that Void Seeker, and then immediately the rest of the team dive on top of him just in case. There's the dive bomb to come through. Viper, he takes that one. Doran still looking for a little bit of an angle here. Zeka in an awkward position in the back of the pit now. Doran looks for the angle. He finds the counter-strike. There's the knock-up. The Impale is massive, but so is Mega Inferno Bomb. And now they all pile in. Paze is going to be taken down first. Keen is out of the fight. And GENG, they don't have the men to do battle against Life Esports around the Dragon. They'll take the Dragon away, but Life Esports may have just won the game.
Life are definitely going to be looking towards the Baron. Doran ensuring that Canyon can't leave.
Down he will fall, very likely. He might be able to escape here against this Jax, but with this stun, it's less likely. He's very slippery, very difficult to lock down, but keeping him this low health means he might as well be dead. The Baron belongs to Life. And the target selection on that fight, the flank from Peanut, the engage from Doran. They got Paze, and he doesn't have an arm guard. They didn't go on Chovy. They went on the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa's the one to fall here. Paze on this flank angle, trying to layer that poke in. Look at the flank here from Doran. As the Dragon gets low here, Chovy's spacing is good, but Paze decides to go in, gets knocked up here. And down he is burst. The engage from Delight ensures he is dead. And Chovy relatively untouched on the other part of the fight, but that is the end of it.
And the counter-strike is huge. Pace there going in, trying to blow up Zeka. Both puts himself in a really rough spot and just goes down basically from the AoE damage.
And now
a pick would be big, but this is a Yone with flash. I don't think that is ever happening.
They at least do manage to deny the soul, right? I mean, there is at least that. But winning this kind of fight, being able to then transition that into so much tempo around the map, being able to get all of these extra items, create such a difference in a 1-3-1 composition that performs so well in these side lanes for Life Esports, the way that you can then snowball this lead ever further is so comfortable.
And even though Keen has teleport, he's at Cassante, and there are no flank wards, there is no setup for him.
Oh God.
And you're getting chunked out. Oh, the ult!
Mega in front of him! And if that was the middle, Trophy's just dead. I think, was that like one balloon from a Hextech minefield? As that is a decent cue from Keen, but now with a whole bunch of friends, Life Esports should be able to defend Doran here and grab themselves an inner turret. Very difficult to get that demolished, but now with the Baron, that Siege Minion is able to get the last shot, and here on the bottom side, even more work is being done close to a 7,000 gold lead here for Hanwha Life Esports right now. 2.5 minutes on the Dragon, and they've still got so much more time on this Red Bull Baron power play that's already ticked up to 3K.
And outside of a miraculous engage from Lahens, Canyon getting a multi-man impale, it really feels like Hanwha is on the precipice of doing what no one thought possible throughout really the entirety of the... Again, the fact that they made finals in the first place was expected after their performance in the regular split. But the fact that right now GENG on the back foot, can't afford any more mistakes, Carry's unable to get any damage down onto this Hanwha Life team.
And it's a red side draft from Hanwha. They got the Ziggs. GENG left it to them. Peanut got his Vi. And it's Zeka's Yone. It's about as classic Hanwha as you can get with Delight on the Rel. And this team has shown some magic in the past. They took that first game in this series and made you believe, and made you want to think that maybe GENG could be toppled this time.
Oh, Mega Inferno just to soften them up here. And you can hear this stadium is starting to come alive. Doran is going to be the first one to break open the base. I think people are sensing a change in the tides as Hanwha Life Esports just moving step after step towards collapsing the GENG dynasty that we felt has just been reality. You know, that is just the way of life, stretching forward, because it's been there for the last 2 years.
8 years since Peanuts Rocks Tigers win. We had the fan bring the jersey, hold it up. He stood on stage yesterday. And I think a lot of us got emotional because we knew how much it meant to him. And yet I think most of us didn't think he could get it done. Most of us didn't think he could pull it off. And yet here we stand, 10 kills to 3, 8,000 gold lead, full map control, naked inhibitor mid.
And the reason it means so much is, like, Peanut has won before on other teams, right? But winning for the Rocks Tigers, I think, meant so much for so many people. Everyone loved this team, and Peanut to be able to just show that, yeah, he's still got it in him. And with players like Zeka, who have won Worlds but never even made it to an LCK final, the fact that Viper has never been able to cross that finish line successfully, and now they might be looking for this team fight. GENG, this is the last chance to keep the Pentapete alive.
One more fight, one more shot.
Doran looking for a flank angle, gets onto a control ward back here, knows that he's unseen. And this is another shot at Soul as well. That's a ward that you're standing on there, Doran, a little bit dangerous. But they are going to move on top of this Dragon right now. Bouncing bomb, a lot of damage onto Canyon. Pays, still wanting to try and find that window, find that angle. The hook is going to connect. The knock-up onto Peanut as he flashes out, ults back in. The impale is decent, but the Yone's already struck. Chovy trying to get himself out of there, but Pays once again is going to get executed, and Chovy is the next in line. He'll break his arm guard, but I think that Hanwha Life want to break more than that, as the Q is going to miss. Chovy's still going to go down, and Hanwha Life Esports another team fight win, and this one, I think, was the real backbreaker.
The final, Rocks Tigers stand strong, gets the engage on, it doesn't matter. Zeka, the only win he ever had against Chovy was at World semi-final, but guess what? He's about to get another one.
It's another Game 5 for Zeka. We didn't know what would happen, but we should have assumed that if it's Game 5, he gets it done. Him and Viper able to put that work in. One last fight here as Delight is taken down, but Lahens, I think, is going to follow soon. Peanut is going to say goodnight to his ex-teammate, and they get to work on the Nexus turrets. Hanwha Life Esports have changed history, and they will end the reign of GENG, and a new Tiger is in charge here in the LCK.
Hanwha Life Esports, our first finals under this banner. 8 years since Rocks Tigers, and since they acquired this team, they have the last Rocks Tiger on the roster, a former player of the team that wanted to make history with 5 titles in a row. The 5-peat is denied. And history was made not just once with T1 not making the final here, defeated by Hanwha, but Hanwha beat the other side of our rivalry, of our repeated GENG T1 matchup, the one that's always prophesized, the one we always know is coming, but Hanwha will lift the trophy tonight.
So well deserved. And the 4 championships, unprecedented from GENG, that's what we have to remember. But it is so poignant that it is bookended by Peanut, by Doran, and by Delight, who helped get so many of those achievements. And finally, for the very first time, Zeka makes his way to a Game 5 in an LCK championship, and he's able to take it. And the next time that Viper is able to get there, we've seen him in Game 5s before. Some of the best League of Legends that we've seen in this country was provided by him in Game 5s. This time, he's the one to lift the trophy.
And as the golden road crumbles, Viper finally raises his trophy. The man left. The man was successful in LPL. He won Worlds. And then it still took him years after coming back to win this. And you can see how much it means to this team.
And it's almost disbelief on Viper and Zeka's faces that they're finally able to do it. And I think it means so much for Doran, Peanut, Delight, the players that were taken out of the super team, the players that were not on this GENG roster to say, I don't need you, I'm on this team and I can take the title from you.
And like, you can see how much it means to Zeka in his face. So many people have called him the patch Zerg, you know? So many people have said, oh yeah, but Akali, Silas, these champions were so good. Did he play those here? No, he didn't. Like, this guy has just developed into an incredible mid laner. And we've had so many.
And it's the first time in so long that it's not our 3 main mids.
Right.
And it's him, and he lifts the trophy.
The first guy, if I'm not mistaken, that isn't one of the Elite 4 of the LCK, right?
Precisely.
Faker, Showmaker, BDD, and Chovy. And guess what? He makes it to finals, and he just wins it.
So what happens? You go to Game 5 against Viper and Zeka at your peril. And, oh man, the whole team, honestly, just incredible. And for Hanwha Life Esports to do it after not finding any success against this squad in such an incredibly long time. I mean, Peanut was part of the reason why Hanwha Life could not find wins against GENG. And oh man, it's just extraordinary.
It's such a story of resilience, I feel, in this best of 5, in this season, and growth. Like you said, for players like Zeka, Peanut's one of those legendary players. He's really the only one next to Faker who's even close in terms of LCK titles, finals appearances. He's had such a long career, but he just doesn't stop. He just keeps playing. He just keeps playing better. He's such a smart player. And the rest of the team grows around him. And Doran's able to get a title on another team.
Yeah,
what a final.
It's Faker Deft and it's Peanut. And finally, it's Peanut that we're seeing get that success. As we're going to bring up Daniel Orcs Harrison. This is the most belated and the most destructive Orcs Susture that we have had so far since he started here in the LCK. And unfortunately, now we're going to have to say goodbye because the battle was between G-Sun and Orcs as to who was going to be correct in their predictions today. So he beat his boss, you know, in that one. I don't know whether he's coming back.
I think, obviously, this is the biggest upset we've had in the finals since 2023 spring, when Jonas Strong was the only one who believed in GENG. T1 were the dominant force coming to that one. They were the dominant favorites. Taking us a few seasons to get to one where we thought this is so much the dominant team, and ended up losing in a 5th game. Crazy, crazy series. And I still can't even accept it myself necessarily. I'm like, where are we?
Quite sure. Yeah, I was ready for the 3-0, you know? That was what I was prepared for this morning. I wasn't prepared for this.
And it's poignant as well that it was GENG that got that huge upset win the last time around from the lower bracket.
Yep.
And this time around, it is Hanwha Life that gets it done. The Pentapeat is no more.
And it's now time to hear from the finally successful Hanwha Life Esports as they accept their trophy. Let's throw it over to Dia for the interview.
우리은행과 함께하는 2024 LCK 서머 그랜드
Thank you very
파이널
much, casters. This is Dear for the post-match interview translation, joined by Hanwha Esports, the champions of Uri Bank 2024 LCK Summer Grand Finals. Congratulations!
8년 만에 오른 결승에서 한화생명 이름을
After
걸고
8
첫
years,
우승 타이틀을
they made it to the final
거머쥐셨는데요.
stage to
선수단
lift their
전원과
trophy
감독님,
for the
코치님까지
first time
만나서
as
인터뷰
Hanwha Life
나눠보도록
Esports.
하겠습니다.
Let's hear from Doran, Peanut,
제카,
Zeka, Viper, Delight,
댄디, 모글리
Dandy,
함께하겠습니다.
and
여러분 큰
Mowgli.
박수 부탁드립니다. 자, 도란 선수 먼저 만나서 이야기 나눠보도록
도란.
하겠습니다. 도란 선수 너무너무 승리 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
congratulations.
젠지에서만
Thank you.
4연속 우승 커리어를 보유하고
You know, as someone
있었던
who
도란
had
선수였는데요.
3 consecutive titles from your GENG
한화생명이라는
days,
이름으로
you get to
우승을
lift a trophy
거머쥐셨습니다.
while
오늘
representing
중요한
Hanwha Life
순간마다
Esports for the
정말
first
활약 많이
time.
해주셨는데요. 또 한 번의
And you
우승을
really showed
이뤄낸
up in
소감
critical moments
들어보겠습니다.
today. So how do you feel?
일단 이번 서머 때
Well,
조금
first of all,
힘들 때도 많았는데
this summer,
정말
there were a lot of
이렇게
ups and downs.
많은 팬분들이 응원해 주시고
And with
또
so much
격려해
support,
주시고 해서
and
이렇게
love from the
마무리 잘 할
fans,
수 있었던 것 같아서
so
너무
much
감사드리고요.
encouragement that they gave us, it gave us the energy. So I'm so thankful for them. And as Hanwha Life Esports, it is the first title,
네.
which means so much.
도란 선수 정말 굳건했던 젠지였습니다. 매치
Doran,
19연패였고요.
yes, so GENG looked immovable. You were on a 19-match losing streak, and you never defeated them in the regular season. So what do you think broke that trend today?
플레이오프 내내 저희 팀이 아주
No, throughout
잘하고
our
좋은
playoffs
방향성으로
run,
가고 있다고 계속 느꼈는데
I felt that our
그런
team
게
was moving
오늘
towards the right
같은 중요한
direction.
경기 때 자신감으로 잘
And I think with
돌아와서 오늘 자신감
all the
있게
confidence
플레이도
that
하고
we
경기도
were able to
재밌게
get in
했던
return,
게 좋았던 것 같아요.
네, 자신감 있는 플레이
I think it was
정말
really
보기
nice that we were able
좋았습니다.
to play it out really
도란 선수
well.
첫 번째 결승
and we had
때는
such an exciting,
돌이켰거든요. 바이퍼
enjoyable
선수에게 좀
game.
미안함이 있었다고. 그래서 오늘 꼭 같이
And you
우승하고
said
싶다.
that you felt
이런
sorry
이야기를
for Viper,
인터뷰에서
that you
남겨주셨는데요.
want to
이제
win
좀
with
마음이
him at all
가벼우실까요?
costs. So do you
제가
feel
그리핀
better
때
about
첫
that now?
결승 때 너무
Now, since Griffin, during the grand finals, I was a rookie back then and I didn't play very hot.
아쉽게 우승 못했는데 여기서 다시
And that's why we were
만나서 또
able
우승한
to
것도
win with Viper
되게
and just being
기분
able
너무
to
좋습니다.
play alongside with him
네,
again
도란
and being able to
선수의
win with
네
him
번째 LCK 우승입니다.
makes me so
정말
happy.
감격스러우실 것 같은데요. 앞으로도
And
더
so this is
높은
your fourth
목표를
LCK
향해서
title,
달려나갈
and it
도란
must be
선수이지 않을까
so
싶은데
special to
프로
you.
선수로서 각오
So great
들어보겠습니다.
things are waiting ahead of you.
이렇게
Can you share your
우승해서
resolution as
너무
a professional
기쁘고
player?
또
I'm so
저희는
happy that I'm
더
able to lift the
중요한
trophy once
경기들이
again.
더 남아있기 때문에 이런
You know, we
우승을
have
조금만
a lot
즐기고
more important matches ahead of us.
다녀와서 또 열심히 롤드컵 잘
And so after
준비해보겠습니다.
taking a break,
감사합니다.
네,
We'll be
계속해서
sure that
응원하도록
we get
하겠습니다.
back
승리 축하드립니다.
in the pace to be ready for Worlds.
지금 화면에 어머니가 잡히고 있는데요. 어머니에게
So it looks like your mom is on camera right now. Do you want to say anything to her?
엄마 너무 사랑하고
Mom, I love you so much.
또 힘들 때마다
You know, every time I was going through a rough patch,
고마워.
네, 여러분
I'm just
큰
so
박수
thankful.
부탁드립니다.
please give it up for Doran.
감사합니다.
Thank you, Doran.
피넛 선수 만나보도록 하겠습니다.
And Peanut,
피넛 선수 승리 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
congratulations.
8년 전
Thank you.
락스타이거즈에서 우승을
8 years ago,
이뤄내셨는데요. 한화생명으로
You
다시
won the
돌아와서
title
7년
under
만에
Rocks Tigers,
우승컵을
and after returning to
들어올리셨습니다.
Hanwha Life Esports,
8년
you got your
만에 우승컵을
7th
들어올리셨는데요.
title
감회가 남다르실 것 같습니다. 소감
after
들어보겠습니다.
8 years.
제
So
첫
how do you
우승을,
feel?
여기 락스타이거즈에서
Now, my first
이뤄냈었는데,
title was with Rocks
하고
Tigers.
나서 이렇게 결승전에 다시 선다는 것도 너무 감격스러운데
And it just feels so special to be back in the same team and be able to lift the
네,
trophy.
맞습니다.
And
정말
it just
많은
feels like
팬분들께서
such a
그래서 이렇게
drama.
화제를
It's such a
보내주시는 것
cinema.
같은데요.
And
오늘
it just
경기를
feels
좀 돌아보면
like
마오카이가
everything,
오랜만에
it
풀리기도
just
했고
feels so
상대는
meaningful.
스카너 정글을
And so
적극적으로
it was,
활용하기도 했었습니다.
your
정글
Maokai was
대결에
left
있어서
open
가장
after a
자신
very
있었던
long
부분이
time,
어떤
and your opponent
거였을까요?
actively utilized Skarner jungle against you. So what were you most confident with in the jungle battle? I feel like
넘어질 수 있다고 생각해서
I currently believe that this current meta
이런 구도 할 때도 제가 더 잘할 수 있다고 생각하면서
really enables me to play whichever champion I want. So even in the Skarner matchup, I felt pretty confident that I would win.
했을 때 같이 연습을 하고 대회를 해보면서 우리 팀이 우승을 못할 팀이 절대 아니다라고
You know,
생각했었는데
as a team, we always thought that we are capable of winning the title.
팀원들한테 너무
And just being able to have that wish come true, I'm so grateful. And all along, our fans have been so supportive. And that's what really led us to win today. And you are the first ever jungler to win 7 titles. And since your debut at just 17 years old, your fans have been supporting you till now. So any message to them?
팬분들 만나다 보면
No, lately, whenever I meet my fans, I do meet a lot of fans that say that they have been cheering for me since they were a student. So it's such a blessing that I'm able to spend such a long career in my professional life that
감사드립니다.
네, 승리 축하드립니다.
that I'm able to spend such a long time just making them so happy, and I'm just so thankful. So I want to say I'm grateful. And anything you'd like to say to your parents? Last year, I thanked them for always cheering me on, and I'd like to say thank you so much. Thanks once again.
네, 이어서 제카 선수 만나보도록 하겠습니다.
Let's move on to
제카
Zeka.
선수. 이 무대 위에서 인터뷰를 하기까지 얼마나
You know, to do
간절하셨을까요?
an interview
드디어
on
제카
this
선수
stage,
첫
how
LCK
desperate
우승
must you
타이틀을
have been?
거머쥐셨습니다.
Zeka,
실감 나시나요?
you finally secured your first LCK title. Can you believe it? You know, even until the moment of victory, I did not believe that I could stand on this stage right now doing the interview. So it does feel surreal. So you said you'd lift the trophy with one hand,
어떠셨나요?
and you lifted it up so high. How did it feel?
이 오른쪽 한 손으로 트로피를 들고 싶었는데
You know, I did say that I wanted to lift the trophy with my one right arm, and I'm really glad that I'm able to keep my promise.
요네를 자신감 있게 픽하셨는데 우승을 향한 의지가
And you
느껴졌습니다.
locked
활약도
in Yone
대단했는데요.
with
어떤
such
마음으로
confidence in Game
픽하셨을까요?
5. So, what was on your mind as you picked him?
사실 좀 좋지 않은
No, for
결과를 계속
Yone,
내고 있어서 마지막 순간까지
ever since yesterday, I haven't really been doing that well, so I was pretty hesitant.
그냥 맡겨주셔서 제가
But my coaching staff
보답하려고
actually
열심히
had
했던 것
so much faith in me. They
네.
pushed me,
물론
and I think just to repay them, I ended up doing really well. My performance was actually pretty nice.
한 번도 이겨본 적이 없었습니다. 무려 매치 16연패를 달리고 있었는데요.
You've never won against
드디어
Chovy in the
길고 긴
LCK,
악연을
16 match
끊어내고
losing
상대를
streak,
뛰어넘으셨습니다.
and today
이에 대한
is
소감도
the
한번
day you
들어보겠습니다.
broke the curse. So how does it feel to overcome your kryptonite?
이겨본 적이 한 번도 없어서 이제 1승이 너무
Yeah, I have never won
이제
or defeated
오늘의 이 우승을 만들기
Chovy
위한
in the
지금까지 패배가
LCK.
좋은 밑거름이 된 것
And I
같아서
feel like all the
오늘의 우승을
process
만들 수
of
있었다
losing
생각해서 너무 좋은 것
up
같습니다.
until this point was what really got me
다시 한번
to win
축하드리고요.
today.
혹시 오늘 경기 전이라 못 보셨을 것 같긴 한데
So I'm just so
어머니께서
grateful for
인터뷰를
all the
해주셨는데
experience.
보셨을까요?
네,
And
경기
your mom was
시작 전에
actually
모니터에
on
저희
the
부모님이
broadcast
나오셔서 좀
with
놀랐는데
some
항상
interviews.
저희
So
부모님이
did you see that?
이제 제 경기 맨날
You know, I actually didn't know that, but I do know that my parents always come to my matches to watch me, and I think that gives me just so much energy, and that's why I do so even better.
제카 선수 스몰도 정말 잘 활용하시잖아요.
네.
한 말씀 해주시죠.
You know, Zeka,
Ma,
since you use
사랑해.
Smolder so well, do you wanna
승리 축하드립니다.
channel your inner Smolder to call your mom? Mom, I love you.
네, 이어서 바이퍼 선수 만나보도록 하겠습니다.
So we'll move on to
역시
Viper.
정말 간절히 원했던 LCK에서의 우승이었을
You
것
were
같은데요.
just
드디어
as
이뤄내셨습니다.
desperate for
소감이
the
어떠신가요?
LCK title, and you finally did it. How do you feel?
첫 결승전 그리고 두 번째, 세 번째 모두
No, this was my
저 뒤에서 좋아하는 팀들 모습을 보면서
for
어떤
my
기분일까
first, second, and
궁금했었는데
third.
이런 기분이군요.
LCK Finals. You know, I've always been in the back, just wondering how it feels to win the title. So how does it feel? You know, it feels great. It feels so refreshing. And I feel like I have been able to prove myself through this moment. And I just want to say thank you so much for my teammates who have been on this journey with me, and also to all the staff at Hana Life Esports. And you know, you heard Doran say that he was sorry earlier, that he wanted to lift the trophy with you, so anything you want to say to him? Honestly, you don't have to be sorry to me. Doran, you are such an amazing player, so I've never been worried. And I believe that you will only grow and improve from now on. And I want to keep building more experience and career with you. And Viper, you got to keep your promise. Do you remember? You know, I didn't really mean much when I said that. You know, oh, I actually don't really know the lyrics well. Just cute. You know, was this the original lyrics? Well, thank you for the attempt. And as the world's champion, Viper, you get to attend Worlds as the LCK first seed. What is your resolution? You know, when you advance to Worlds as the first seed, you know, I have to show myself and prove myself, so please look forward to it.
네, 이어서 팀을 든든하게 지켜줬던 딜라이트 선수 만나보도록 하겠습니다. 승리 축하드립니다.
Let's talk to Delight. Congratulations.
딜라이트 선수 스스로를 증명하고 싶다 인터뷰 남겨주셨는데요. 해내셨습니다.
So in the interview, you said that you wanted to prove yourself, and you did it. And you also get to maintain that 100% finals win rate. And this is your third title, so how do you feel? No, I think I took this moment to really prove myself, and it was such an important moment for me. And I'm just so glad that I'm able to make my fans smile. So in GENG, you had so many former teammates, which might have made you more desperate for today's victory. How did you keep your focus until Game 5 with such an intense match? I feel like our team has been really good with the direction that we have in game. So we knew that we were able to win, and as long as we keep our focus. So do you have any message to your teammates or your coaching staff? You know, I complain a lot, and I do feel like I'm immature as the youngest player at times, but I'm just really grateful that they're also accepting of me. Thanks for taking care of me. And Delight, this will be your second Worlds appearance, so what is your resolution for Worlds? You know, it was a little disappointing when we got eliminated at my first Worlds appearance, but I want to make sure that I am once again able to prove myself at Worlds this time. And anything you'd like to say to your family? Get back home safely, and I'll see you soon. Next up, we have head coach Dandy. Congratulations. Under the Hana Life Esports name, you have won the first title, so how do you feel? It's such an honor. And ever since we got our roster together, I had always believed that our team is really good. And this was the moment that we were able to prove ourselves, which makes me so happy.
오기까지 뭐 선수들 5명 모두 잘해줬지만
And up until this point, all 5 players did really well. But all the rest of the coaching staff and the front staff in the company have put in so much work. And I think it was everyone's collaborative effort that we're able to stand here right now. And I was told that our CEO here is today cheering for us. And it's such an honor to be able to show you that we're able to lift the trophy in front of you. And throughout the series, the drafting was so crucial. So what did you think was the key in the draft phase? You know, since the T1 match, we didn't have much time to prepare for today. But I also believe that GENG they also had the same amount of time to prepare as well. So I think it's just really all about focusing on our team's strength. And any message and shout out to the fans. No, finally, today we're able to be proud of ourselves, which I'm so delighted about. And if you are able to keep supporting us throughout our Worlds run, I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Lastly, let's talk to Coach Mowgli. Congratulations!
한화생명에서 함께 하시면서 우승을 차지하셨습니다. 굉장히 뜻깊을 것 같은데요.
You are able to win the title
들어보겠습니다.
저희 하나생명이
with Hanwha Life Esports. How do you feel?
리브랜딩 이후에 첫 우승을
You know, after the rebrand, Hanwha Life Esports is able to lift their first trophy, and being able to be a part of that is such an honor. And we had so much ups and downs, but I never doubted my team, and I've always believed fully that our team is the best, and I knew that we could do it. And I'm so happy and thankful that our team, our players are able to repay everything with a title. And as a coach, would you like to say anything to your fans? You know, to our fans, I've always been saying that we're constantly improving, we're always moving towards the right direction. And being able to repay with the results of us winning the split, I am so thankful for that, and I'm also really grateful that you are always supporting us no matter what. And we'll put in even more effort for our Worlds run. Congratulations! Once again.
네, 이렇게 한화생명 선수분들과 감독 코치님까지 인터뷰를 통해서
And that
만나봤는데요.
was the interview with Hanwha Life Esports.
저희가 한 말씀을 못 들었습니다. 파이퍼 선수 마지막으로 한 말씀 해주시죠.
Viper, one last thing. Did you want to say anything to your mother?
모습을 많이 보여드렸었는데 오늘
I feel like I've only shown you a lot of my defeats, and I'm just so happy that I'm able to show you a victory moment. And I'm so grateful that you're always so supportive. I love you. And once again, please give it up for your 2024 LCK Summer Split Champion, Hanwha Life Esports. Thank you.
네, 이렇게 인터뷰를 나눠봤습니다. 이제 곧 이어서 우승팀 시상식과 함께 파이널 MVP가 발표됩니다. 과연 그 주인공은 누가 될지 많이 기대해 주시기 바라면서 저희는 잠시 후 시상식으로 돌아오겠습니다.
그냥 대놓고 싸울 생각